Hi guys, welcome to the second sheet of week 4, Factorising hard quadratics. So I'm not going through every single one of these, I'll just pick a few to go through and talk about why I picked what I picked, and then I'll just write the answers down. So if you do want to skip to the end, the answers should be in full there and you should be able to pick them off if you want to. Okay, so in general my advice for these questions is just simply have a go. And then expand it back, and I'll show you how you can make the checks as you go to see what if you're making what you're looking for. So for instance, for this first one here, we know that we need to make 2x squared. Oh, there we go, sorry, pen's been stupid. And we know we need to make 3. Okay, and then the 7x, the term in the middle there is the check. Did I make it? Alright, so if we have 2x here and x here, then I've made my 2x squared straight away. There's no other way to do that with integer values. Now I want to make my 3. Okay, so obviously I've got the choice now. Do I put the 1, my cursor, do I put the 1 here or do I put it here? Okay, now I want to make 7x. I want to get quite a high value of x relative to the 3 and the 2. So to get a large value, if I stick the 3 here and the 1 here, now here's my check then, so this gives me 6x and 1x, that's 7x in total. So I've got the 3 and the 2x squared, like I say, by design, and then the 7x is about which way round do I put these things. Okay, so then that's how we check, and that's it there. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly write down the answer to B. Okay, so we've got 3x minus 1 and x plus 2. So again, we've got the 3x squared and the minus 2 by design, and then it's the 3x times 2, which is 6x. And then minus x takes me down to the 5x. Okay, and then for C, let's just go through C. So this one's slightly different in the sense we've got a couple of options on here. So for the 6x squared, I can either do 6x and x or 3x and 2x. And again, it's not obvious necessarily until you sort of get stuck in. So I'm going to go for a 3x and a 2x option. Okay, and then I need to make the minus 11x. I need to get quite a large negative number, but I've got positive 3 here. So that's going to make me think that both the numbers 3 and 1 to make the 3 are going to be negative, because 2 negatives multiply to make a positive. Okay, so let's just stick it in this way around to start with and see if it works, and if it doesn't then we can change it. So that makes positive 3. Okay, so we've got minus 2x, take away another 9x, and now we're down at minus 11. Okay, so we needed a big negative number for minus 11, but we had a positive 3. That indicates to me I want 2 negative numbers here and here in order to produce that negative value of x. Okay, again I'll pause and write down the answers for D and E, and then we'll have a look at F. Okay, so there's your answers for D and E there. So a little bit, I suppose, a little bit of a hint for E, I guess, is if you've got minus 7x here, but you've got minus 20 here, you think of the factors of 20, 10 and 2, 20 and 1, the larger ones, you tend not to want to pick the larger factors if the value of x here is small. It's not necessarily always true, because that will be affected by what values of x you put here and here, but just as a rough sort of guide, try and keep the numbers smaller. If this value of x here is relatively small, we don't get too far away from each other. Right, so then for the last one here, we've got to make 4x, and then we've got the 4x squared and the minus 15 option here. So just as a sort of point here, you can think about even and odd numbers. So if I put 2x here and 2x here, to make the 4x squared, I'm definitely going to end up with an even amount of x when I multiply it out, and I do want an even amount of x, so that might work out for me. It's not to say that you can't achieve it by a different way, but for instance, let's just try that one and see if it works out. So go for 2x and 2x, and now I need a negative 4x and a negative 15, so potentially here I want a negative number, then add a number back on, or vice versa obviously. So we've got 15, so we've got 5 and 3. So we put, doesn't really matter, does it, I suppose, because they're 2x and 2x. So that's going to give us 15. Which one needs to be the negative? Well, it's minus 4x. Let's just see how this works out. So there we go, we get negative 10x there, add 6x back on, we get back up to minus 4x. Okay, so obviously if you put 4 and 1 in as your values for x here, instead of 2x and 2x, so you put 4x and 1x, and then both of your factors are also going to be odd for 15, then you wouldn't have been able to create the even 4x there, because you would have had an odd number and an even number, which when you add or subtract, they would have made an odd value of x or lot of x. Okay, so quite a lot of rambling there. I'm sure you could just spot it anyway, but you can look at it from that point of view. Okay, so again here with the next one, I'll do a couple of them. I'll do 2a here now, and then I'll just write the answers for a few more. So we're going to solve this now. So already it's a quadratic. We're always looking for a quadratic. It's really important moving forward to equal 0, because when it does equal 0 and I factorize it, this means that I can make use of that idea we saw in the first video, which is if I multiply two things together and they make 0, that means one of them is 0, and therefore I can say what a value of x would need to be to make the equation 0. Okay, so let's factorize it first. So we definitely have to have 5x and x. Apologies if you can hear the rain, just like raining, because there's no other way to make 5x squared. This one's quite nice because we just got the negative 2 here. So let's pop a 2 there, which will make us 10x, and then let's take away, you might add, take away 1x there to bring us back down to plus 9x. Okay. Now I need to solve this. So as we said before in the first video, either this bracket needs to make 0, so when I times it by this bracket we get 0, or alternatively this bracket equals 0, so when I multiply it by the first bracket I get 0. So what values of x can I put in there to make these brackets 0? So we can say either 5x minus 1 needs to be 0, which implies that x equals, if we add 1 and divide by 5, a fifth, or alternatively x plus 2 must equal 0, which implies that x equals negative 2. Okay, so those are my two solutions for that. So I'm just going to write down the solutions for the next few and then maybe go for the last E and F. Okay then, so for these last two I'll just pop some green in there so that you can sort of see which answer is referring to which question. So we notice here that these equations don't equal 0 anymore. So if they don't equal 0, we can't take advantage of the fact that when I multiply two things together, if the answer is 0, one of them has to be 0. So we can quickly take it, sort that out by just subtracting, in this first case for E here, 5. So if we rearrange this equation to get 10x squared minus 43x, take away 5 is minus 35 equals 0, then we can proceed as before. Now I will say it didn't happen in any of these questions. If there was a common factor, so let's say all of these numbers in E, so the 10, the minus 43, the minus 30 and 5, if they were all even, we could divide through